So my lovely boyfriend was a little bit upset about me keeping my to-read pile under the bed in a bag, and he's cleared off some shelves for me. I figured while I was putting these books on the shelf would be an excellent opportunity to show you what I've got. Because I like to do a TBR update every 6 months or so, and I kind of missed one, so here we go. So the first thing I'm going to show you is actually these are not going on the shelf. These are my absolute top 4 must-read nexts. The Book of the Unnamed Midwife by Meg Ellison, which was lent to me by a friend after it was recommended to me by Jeanette at Worldcon. The population has been decimated, possibly even shrunk to a tenth of its former size. There's some kind of post-apocalyptic stuff going on. Humanity needs to rebuild itself, and this is about the midwife who helps that happen. Cruel World by Monica Ferris. This is a reread for me, but I realised I didn't have this one, so I bought it again and I kind of want to reread it straight away. This is someone who goes to visit her sister who runs a needlework shop, finds her sister has been murdered, and sets about to discover who did it, and then takes over the needlework shop. So Ferris herself initially intended to make the needlework shop owner the detective, the original needlework shop owner, and then realised she didn't really know enough about needlework, so she made her main character also not know a lot about needlework and kind of learnt as he went on. The other lovely thing about this series is it has a pattern at the end of every book, and it's almost always something that's relevant or that's been mentioned in the story, and this is the one for this book. The next book is Bram Stoker's Dracula, because I realised that I'd never read it and it's a classic and my life would probably be better if I'd read it, so it's on the list. And when I mentioned this to said boyfriend, he was all, you have to read it right now, so that's the other reason it's on the list. And the last is Among Others by Jo Walton. I've met her a couple of times. She seems like a really lovely person. I've just not read any of her work, so I wanted to put one of those on the read soon list because it seemed about time. And here are my lovely empty bookshelves, which I'm hoping will be big enough, and I'm just going to take out of the bag, talk a bit about the book if I can remember. So this is The Outrun by Amy Littrott. I think it was in a ninja box or something. It's about a woman whose life is going rubbish, so she goes back to her roots and hopefully finds true love, or I don't know. It didn't really appeal, but it's brand new and it's all mine, so I thought I'd put it there. Chaos by Patricia Cornwell. Lots of people mention loving Patricia Cornwell. I've never read any, so I picked this one up in a church book sale, and it does not fit on the list, on the shelf. I'll put it to the very left. Actually, I'll see if I've got any more that don't fit on the shelf. Put it maybe sideways, I don't know. We Are Legion, We Are Bob. I've forgotten putting that in the list. I've just never got around to it. Yeah, there's a whole pile that don't fit that way up. Scorpia by Anthony Horowitz. I went through a stage of reading all the Alex Rider books. He's a really good writer. They get a bit formulaic, so I just haven't read one for a while. I thought I'd pick that up, and I can't even remember where I got that. Coastlines by Joanne Harris. I know nothing about this book except that I've loved everything else that Joanne Harris has written, so I picked that up when I saw it in a book swap booth. I think they're called free libraries in America. I don't know. Amanda Brown Omnibus, Family Trust and Legally Blonde. This is because I love the film Legally Blonde and hadn't read the book. It's about a society woman who's told that all she's good for is looking pretty, and her boyfriend dumps her because she's not clever enough, and she says, well, I'm cleverer than you, and she goes to Harvard and gets a law degree. Okay, this is an arc. Wow, I should have read this. They call us the Boneless Mercies. They said we were shadows, ghosts, and if you touched our skin, we dissolved into smoke. It's something about assassins who have to be women because men have other options. I'm not really sure, except it's some kind of fantasy assassins book. The Queens of Innisley. This is King Lear in space. I started it once, bounced off it, but I know I'm going to love it when I actually get around to being in the mood for it. City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. I like some of her other books. I don't know, I guess there might be a cat, there's ghosts, I don't know. I can't even remember where that came from. Sorry. Common Appeal of Clouds by Alexander McCall Smith. This is about a middle-aged Scottish woman and her adventures with the world. I'm probably not ever going to get around to reading it, but it can go on the shelf for now anyway. I used to love Alexander McCall Smith. I kind of got over it. Water for Elephants. Never seen the film. I heard some people quite like it. Picked this up in a free library. Dean Koontz The Mask, another free library thing, because I felt like I hadn't read any horror for a while. I used to like Dean Koontz, haven't read any for decades. Picked this up. Dorothy L. Sayers' An Unnatural Death. I found this on the bookshelves at home and I did not remember it at all. It's a cosy mystery, probably 20s-ish, with a posh detective and general, and it's a murder mystery. The Life of Olaudah Equiano, The African by Olaudah Equiano. This is one of the earliest books published in English by an African. It's about someone who was enslaved and then became free, and about his encounters with English society. Hey Girls by Gary Kilworth. This is about a family who are a modern family, but nevertheless their parents don't like modern society and they live like the Brontes did. Armageddon Rag by George R.R. Martin. This was a present. I know nothing about it except it was a present. I haven't got around to it yet and I feel slightly guilty about that. And there's maybe there's rock music and murder and I don't know. I don't even know what genre it is. The Intuitionist by Colson, Whitehead. This is about lift manufacturers and I was given it by a friend because I love lifts. So it's fantasy, I think, probably near future, but I don't really know, it might be historic. I'm quite excited about it though, because here, this is a present for you because you love lifts sounds like a great start. Sky in the Deep by Adrian Young. I wonder why I haven't got to this yet. I don't know. This is Fantasy Vikings. Oh, I know, because I got it when I was in a sci-fi phase. Why haven't I read any sci-fi phase rather than I'm ready to read the fantasy phase? I guess it's about a woman who has to defy her father, but I don't really remember. But it's Fantasy Vikings, so it must be good, right? I was sceptical that they were going to fit on these two shelves, but I think they are. Minette Walters' The Ice House. This is again gritty crime. I loved all the Minette Walters I've read, so I picked this up in a free library just on the strength of the name. The Revenge of Seven, Pittacus Law. I read the first few, I really loved them, and then I just forgot to buy one and I got out of the habit, and then I thought recently I wonder whether there was another one of those. So I got this, and that's a book that I actually bought for myself and it's not been read yet. Don't know why. Too many books, too little time. The Hand, the Eye and the Heart by Zoe Marriott. I'm guessing this is a debut by the way the author's name is so small. It's about someone. Oh, it looks like a vaguely Mulan-ish story. Well, I did love Mulan, both the Disney and the Chinese films. So that seems like exactly the sort of thing I might like. The Light Between Worlds by Laura Weymouth. This is about world walking, I think, possibly portal fantasy. I think this one's the one about people after they come back from their fantasy world, a bit like Wayward Children, but maybe aimed at slightly older. I don't know whether it's adult or YA. I don't know, but I was excited to read it when I caught it, and I just haven't had time yet. Monsters by Sharon Dogart. This is a novelisation of the life of Mary Shelley. And again, it sounds super excited. I just haven't got around to it yet. It was in a book box club box. I think The Light Between Worlds was as well. And I'm not sure The Sky in the Deep was. And Queens of Innislear was. So I'm obviously not that great at reading the books in time to talk about them. In fact, I've never made it to one of their talking sessions. This was as well. Shadow Scent the Darkest Bloom. This is about the use of perfume in magic, and the people who can make perfumes are the best magicians, and it sounds like it's got a really interesting world building, really interesting magic systems. I just haven't quite got round to it yet, because that's kind of how it is. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. This is an absolute classic anti-racism book. I just realised that I'd never read it, and then I picked it up in a free library because I'd never read it, and I figured it would improve my life to read it. So this is my TBR, which I have to say looks a lot smaller and less daunting on the shelf than it did in my bag. So I'm really glad that Boyfriend suggested it, and I will let you know which I get to soon. Do you want to buddy read any of these? I tried a buddy read before. I wasn't very good at it. Have you interested in hearing my views, even if you don't want to buddy read it? What do you think? What are you excited for? Let me know, and I'll see you next week. Bye.